For many years, we dreamed of visiting Kyoto, and this year, we finally did it. The two best seasons for going to Kyoto are spring and fall, and we chose to go in November, hoping to see the fall color for which that city is justly famous. With careful planning 6 months in advance, we were able to make the most of our 2-week stay at modest expense. We traveled on our own, no tours, stayed in an efficiency apartment, used public transportation, and ate breakfast and dinner at home. Mostly, we came to see Kyoto's amazing temples and shrines, and the beautiful gardens surrounding them. There are 1,600 such sites in Kyoto, so we had to do our homework to choose the best ones to visit. Even so, our plan was too ambitious. We hoped to visit 30 sites, but actually made it to just 25. After an 18-hour flight in economy class from Lisbon to Dubai and then on to Osaka, we needed a good rest. Fortunately, we planned to start off our vacation with a night in a ryokan, a traditional Japanese inn. But first, we needed to get there. The Shorinkan Yoshinoya Ryokan was in Taisa on the shore of the Sea of Japan, 2.5 hours by train. We were struck by the orderliness surrounding Japanese train travel. Passengers waiting for the trains line up in neat rows in designated locations, laid out with clear markings embedded in the station platform. Conductors on Japanese trains wear white gloves and bow when they enter and leave the train car, as well as to individual passengers when checking tickets. By the way, everyone bows in Japan, and we quickly picked up on the custom ourselves. Don't be surprised if we bow next time we see you. The trip through the countryside was enjoyable. We traveled along rice fields and through towns, hills, valleys, and tunnels. We chose Shorinkan Yoshinoya because it included a traditional kaiseki multi-course dinner and breakfast, as well as an onsen, a volcanic hot spring bath. Also, the room had a lovely view of the village, the harbor, and the sea. Many ryokan have public onsen, which men and women visit separately. But this one had a private bath that we could enjoy together. And here we are, ready for our soak, dressed in yukatas provided by the ryokan. It was a luxurious pleasure. Elena took a peek into the lovely women's public onsen. There's also one for men. The dinner was exquisite, but unfortunately we didn't film it. When we returned to our room, the tatami mats had been made up for sleeping, but we weren't ready to retire yet. The host explained that this was a special night, the beginning of crab catching season, so we went down to the harbor to join the celebration. On the first day of the season, the boats leave at 9 in the evening and are out all night. The giant crabs living in the waters off Taisa at 200 to 400 meters are called taizagani. They are caught using crab traps or with nets dragged along the seabed, as shown in this model. In the morning, we watched the boats returning. The catch is auctioned at the pier and can sell for up to $250 per crab. A lot of celebrities come to Taizé during the season to enjoy the fresh delicacy. We didn't get the chance, but people say that once you taste it, you never forget it. This is a carriage entrance to the Imperial Palace, the residence of the Japanese emperor until 1869. Walking through the park that surrounds the palace, we noticed that the wide paths were covered by a thin layer of gravel, and we wondered how it was kept so neat. And then, lo and behold, inside the palace walls, we saw the gravel rakers at work. We think that this profession could only exist in Japan. This gate was used as an entrance for important ceremonies. Behind the orange gate, you can see the courtyard and ceremonial hall. The ceremonial hall, built in 1855, is flanked by cherry and mandarin orange trees. The palace for ceremonies and imperial audiences burned down in 1954 and was rebuilt in 1958. This was the emperor's residence from the 8th century to the 11th century. It was rebuilt in 1790. Japanese gardens seek to create an ancient, natural-looking landscape with moss, water, and aged, worn stones being the primary elements. Nijo Castle, the residence of Tokugawa shoguns, dates to the 17th century. This interior gate, restored in 2013, is the entrance to the main palace. We toured inside the palace, which had classic Japanese screen paintings. Elaborate wooden carvings and gold filigree decorate the entrance. The castle garden was designed in the 17th century. The pond has a large island symbolizing paradise, and also turtle and crane islands, which symbolize long life. The inner moat surrounds the inner palace and is seen here from the top of the stone ramparts of the former castle keep, which burned down in 1750. Here are the imposing walls of the inner castle. In 1965, a garden and 2 tea houses were added to Nijo Castle in a mixture of Eastern and Western styles. Fushimi Inari, a Shinto shrine, is named for the Shinto god of rice and commerce. Most Japanese pray and worship ancestors at Shinto shrines. A torii gate symbolically marks the transition from the worldly to the sacred. Each gate along the 4 kilometers of paths has been donated by a business or individual. Purification fonts accompany the shrines located along the way. New torii gates are constantly being added and cost from $4,000 to $10,000. We climbed to the very top of the mountain, 200 meters high, to a shrine where a lot of smaller torii are kept, donated by those who are less well off. The top looks like a mausoleum, but it's not. These are stone torii and Otsuka stones engraved with the names of deities and worshipped by individual families. The fox is the god Inari's messenger. It carries a key to the granary in its mouth. It's quite a fascinating labyrinth. This map shows the 4 kilometers of Torii-lined trails. From the top of the mountain, we went back down to see the annual fire festival, where monks make large bonfires to burn wooden sticks with prayers written by the faithful. Tofukuji Temple Complex is a blend of Buddhism and Shinto. This gate, built in 1425, underwent an 8-year-long disassembly and rebuilding in the 1970s. We climbed to the upper chamber, which has a Buddha and statues of monks. In Shinto belief, inanimate objects, such as the rocks placed on these torii, have spirits. In a Zen garden, such as this one, the gravel represents water, and the stones are islands. These miniatures made from moss show scenes from the temple grounds. The maple leaves were just beginning to change at this famous bridge, one of Kyoto's most photogenic sites. The temple complex includes a large garden with a stream, a lily pond, carefully tended landscape, and various buildings. At Tofukuji, as with all Japanese temples, workers meticulously prune the trees and tend the moss and grasses to achieve just the right effect. In some parts of the garden, the fall colors were further along. The buildings on the temple grounds are very organic. They seem to grow from the landscape rather than being stuck onto it. We started our day in the Gion district at this shrine in Maruyama Park. This shows the peculiar temple roof construction using stacked slats of cypress wood. This 600-year-old temple, the Yasaka Pagoda, is 46 meters high and is a highlight of one of Kyoto's oldest neighborhoods. The oldest areas of Gion are famous for geishas, where geisha spotting is a popular tourist pastime. Photographing them on the street without their permission is illegal, but people do it anyway, mostly from the back. We also went geisha hunting and saw a few, but we didn't take pictures. These we borrowed from the internet. Geishas are professional entertainers. We attended a geisha show and were completely blown away by the subtlety and finesse of the dance movements. It was absolutely mesmerizing. This video, also borrowed, is an earlier performance of one of the pieces we saw. Kiyomizu means pure water, and this Buddhist temple, built in 1633, takes its name from a waterfall that runs off the nearby hills. The temple is famous for its view of the countryside. Near a shrine dedicated to the god of love are 2 stones. If you can walk from one to the other with your eyes closed, you will find true love. It also helps if you drink from the temple's spring. The lovely Buddhist temple of Kodaiji is also located in the vicinity of Gion. It's easy to see why the Japanese, who live almost entirely in densely crowded cities, value these refuges of nature and serenity so highly. According to Buddhist tradition, spinning these prayer wheels provides the same benefit as reciting the prayers. The twisted tunnel passes under the train tracks on the way to the Aikando temple. At night, the trees are illuminated, creating a magical wonderland of shapes and colors in which nature itself plays the starring role. A full moon was shining brightly overhead as strains of traditional music performed by monks wafted through the air. Here, the monks are just leaving the stage. In Buddhism, there are considered to be many different Buddhas in many different universes. This temple is dedicated to the Amida Buddha, who created an alternate universe called Pure Land. Reflections from the surface of the still waters of the pond create a dreamy and meditative atmosphere. Every tree branch, skillfully sculpted by master gardeners, is like a precious work of art. After visiting these temple sites, we leave with a deep feeling of calm and well-being.